Hey, Your Honor, I'm sorry, but we are going to need an interpreter for one for the
Okay.
male for the males.
For the males. Okay. Is it going to be a Spanish interpreter?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll say him for last
Okay.
and the interpreter on the line.
Okay. Hey, Your Honor, I'm sorry, but we are going to need an interpreter for one. Hey, Your Honor, I'm sorry, but we are going to need an interpreter for one for the males.
For the males. Okay. Is it going to be a Spanish interpreter?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We are now streaming live on YouTube. Are you all ready with the males? Okay. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me. Can I proceed, Deputy Lee?
Yes, ma'am, you can.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We are now streaming live on YouTube. My name is Judge Ferry, and I will be presiding over your first appearance today. I want you all to listen up very carefully because I'm going to explain to you a few things that's going to take place this afternoon, and it will probably resolve a lot of your questions that you may have in front of me. So today is your first appearance. It is not your trial date. We are not here to try your case, and we are not here to take your plea. You are here for me to inform you of the charges that have been brought against you and for me to advise you of certain rights that you have. You are here so that way I can determine whether or not you will be set with a bond on those offenses that I am authorized to set a bond on. I will also schedule what is called a preliminary hearing date if necessary to determine whether you require a probable cause hearing. Also, I will be determining whether or not you qualify to have a court-appointed attorney appointed to represent you. Now, you do have the right to remain silent. Keep in mind that we are streaming on YouTube Live. So anything that you say is being recorded and can be used against you in your case. So you do have the right to remain silent and not say anything. But should you give up this right, anything you say can be used against you if your case does in fact go to trial. Now, during this and all other proceedings, you do have the following rights. You have the right to the presumption of innocence until the state proves your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to indictment by the grand jury for most felonies or by accusation for misdemeanors. You have the right to a speedy and public trial by jury. You have the right to see, hear, and cross-examine witnesses who are called to testify against you. You have the right to compel the attendance of witnesses in your own behalf by subpoena. You have the right to testify, and you have the right to offer other evidence in your own defense should you choose to do so. However, should you choose not to do so, there will be no presumption of your guilt that will be raised. And you also have the right to have an attorney represent you. Now, some of you will be allowed to. I'm sorry. What was that, Deputy Crawley?
Oh, you go ahead, man.
Okay. Okay. So now some of you will be allowed and will be granted a bond. So listen up and I'll explain to you how the bonds work. Some of you will be able to post what is called an unrestricted bond. And this will allow you to be released from jail while you wait to have your case prosecuted and heard. The bond may be in 3 different forms. It can be a cash bond. And if you decide to post a cash bond, what's going to happen is you will pay the full amount on your bond in cash to the sheriff's office, plus any applicable mandated fees. The sheriff will then hold that cash, and after the final disposition of your case, the cash will be returned to the person who posted it. You may also post what is called a commercial bond. Many of you will probably use this option. So if you don't pay your bond in full with cash, you can post using a commercial bonding company that's approved by the sheriff's office. Now, there are private companies who charge different fees to post the bond for you. The bonding companies usually charge anywhere from 10% up to 15% of the total amount of your bond as their fee for their services. For example, if I tell you your bond is $1,000 and you choose to use a commercial bonding company, then that bonding company may charge you 10 to 15% of that $1,000. And that is what you would have to pay the bonding company to be released from jail. Now, once you pay this fee to the bonding company, you do not get this money back. The third option is you can post what is called a property bond. You will need to find someone who owns property that has at least 3 times the net equity in their property for you to be able to post bond. So for example, if I tell you your bond is $2,000 and you want to use property to post your bond, then that property has to have equity in it of at least $6,000. Now, some of you will have what is called a special condition placed on your bond, and that special condition will prohibit you from contacting certain people, and it will prohibit you from going to or around certain places. If I tell you that you have a special condition on your bond, and I tell you that you are to have no contact with a particular person, that means no phone calls, no texts, no social media. Don't go to their work, their home, or any other place where that person may be. Should you violate this court's order, then your bond will be revoked and you will not be entitled to another bond while you wait for trial. Additionally, if you violate the special condition to your bond, an additional charge of aggravated stalking, influencing witness, or other charge as the law may provide could be brought against you, and you could be sentenced up to 10 years in prison or fined up to $20,000. Now, many of you will probably reach out to family members to try to post your bond so they can assist you in getting out of jail. For family members who will be assisting you, they will be provided information of your bond amount after we conclude our first appearance hearing today. However, if a family member is the alleged victim in your case, and there is a special condition that you are to have no contact with that family member, then that particular family member will not be allowed to post your bond for you. Now, some of you are charged with offenses for which this court is not authorized by law to set a bond for you. In this event, a bond hearing will be scheduled for you before a superior court judge, and you will be informed of that date. And at that time, the superior court judge will hear additional facts and make a determination if you will be granted a bond at that time. Now, if you are currently on active probation, this court is also not authorized to set a bond for you. We will give your probation officer an opportunity to decide whether he or she will file a warrant to revoke your probation. And this is typically done during your preliminary hearing date. Now, the preliminary hearing date is the court date that I will be informing you about. A preliminary hearing is considered to be a probable cause hearing. Now, the purpose of a preliminary hearing is to determine whether there is enough evidence or enough probable cause to justify keeping you detained on your charges until your case goes to trial. If you are charged with misdemeanors only, you may have the option of waiving your preliminary hearing. And if you want to waive it, it just moves your case along a lot faster. You can just let me know that you want to waive your preliminary hearing date. And by doing so, it won't affect your right to be able to post bond today. It won't affect your right to have an attorney appointed to represent you. And it won't affect your right to a jury trial. Now, if you post bond, your preliminary hearing date is automatically waived. So you won't have to tell me whether or not you want to waive it, because if you know that you're going to be able to make bond and get out of jail, then it will be automatically waived. then you will be mailed a notice of when to appear in state court for your arraignment. If you cannot make bond, you may also still waive your preliminary hearing date. And then at that time, you will be taken before a state court judge where you'll enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. And if you plead not guilty, then a trial will be scheduled for you. Now, if you are charged with felony charges, I will set your preliminary hearing date as well. So these are the court dates that you should expect. For those of you that are charged with misdemeanors only, your preliminary hearing court date is going to be April 6th. April 6th at 8:30 a.m. For those of you who are charged with felonies or felonies and misdemeanors, then your court hearing date for your preliminary hearing will be April 5th. That's April 5, the number 5. For those of you who are denied bond, you will be giving a bond hearing date, and that date is going to be April 2nd. Okay, so I want everyone to go ahead and raise their right hands before I call you up one by one. If you can raise your right hands. Do you swear and affirm that the statements that you will give to this court and the statements contained within your application for court-appointed counsel is true? If so, say I do.
I do.
Okay, you can go ahead and put your hand down. I want you all to keep in mind that because we are streaming live on YouTube and because we are in a Zoom video conference, when you come up to speak with me, make sure you speak as loud and clearly as possible, because sometimes it's difficult hearing you, especially with you all wearing masks as well, okay? And keep in mind, although this is Zoom video conference and although we are streaming live on YouTube, this is still a professional setting and this is still a court proceeding. So please conduct yourselves accordingly, okay? All right, Deputy Crawley, I am ready for the females. The first person I have is Rashonda Garter.
Going around this way. State your name.
Rashonda Garter.
Good afternoon, Ms. Garter.
Good afternoon.
Jones.
You were charged with 1 count of aggravated assault, as well as 1 count of obstruction of an officer. I have dismissed the aggravated assault charge for lack of probable cause. I'm denying that charge. However, there is probable cause to issue the warrant for the obstruction of an officer. And so your bond amount is $2,500. Do you understand the charge and the bond amount?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you plan to represent yourself, hire your own attorney, or do you want me to see whether you qualify for a court-appointed attorney?
To see if I qualify for a court-appointed attorney, please.
Okay. And just to confirm, you are unemployed, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you do qualify. I'm gonna go ahead and appoint an attorney to represent you. As I stated earlier, your preliminary hearing date will be April 6th because you're just charged with a misdemeanor. Did you have any questions for me, Ms. Garter?
No, ma'am, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Have a good one. You're excused.
Hello, Judge. It's Octavia Dobson.
Good afternoon, Ms. Dobson.
Good, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Give me one moment, Ms. Dobson, okay? Let me locate your paperwork. Okay, Ms. Dobson, you have been charged with 1 count of battery family violence. That bond amount is set at $5,000. And you have 1 count of cruelty to children in the 3rd degree. That bond amount is set at $2,000. So your total bond is $7,000. Do you understand the charges that have been brought against you in the bond amount?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now you do have a special condition to your bond. That is to stay away from Dante Hughes. Do you all live together, ma'am?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, do you plan on hiring an attorney to represent you, represent yourself, or would you like to see if you qualify for a court-appointed attorney?
I want to see if I qualify for a court appointment first.
Okay. Okay, yes, ma'am. I've reviewed your application and I will grant your request and I will appoint an attorney to represent you. Your preliminary hearing date will be April 6th. However, if you bond out, that date will be automatically waived and canceled and you'll receive a new court date in the mail. Do you have any questions, ma'am?
No, ma'am.
Okay, you have a good one. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, Ms. Jordan Jones.
Good afternoon, Ms. Jones. Okay, you have been charged with 1 count of battery family violence. That bond amount is $5,000. You've also been charged with criminal trespass. That bond amount is $2,000. So your total bond is $7,000. Do you understand the charges and the bond amount?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you do have a special condition to your bond, and that is to stay away and have no contact with Keyshawn Collins. Also, you are not to return to or go to the premises located at 269-A3204 Highway 138 Southwest in Riverdale, Georgia. Do you understand that condition, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you plan to represent yourself, hire a private attorney, or do you want to be considered for a court-appointed attorney?
I want to be considered for a court-appointed attorney.
Ms. Jones, I've reviewed your application that you completed, and I will grant your request. So I am appointing an attorney to represent you. Your next court date will be the preliminary hearing date, and that's scheduled for April 6th at 8:30 a.m. If you bond out, that court date will be canceled, and you'll receive the new court notice in the mail. Okay. Do you have any questions for me, Ms. Jones?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. You're excused. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Judge LaShayla James.
Good afternoon, Ms. James. Okay, Ms. James, you have been charged with 1 count of concealing the identity of a vehicle. You have a charge of, that charge has a bond set at $500. You also have a charge of possession of marijuana less than 1 ounce. That's a $1,500 bond. You have 1 charge of use or possession of drug-related objects. That's a $500 bond. You have one charge of defective equipment. That's a $500 bond. You also have a charge of unregistered vehicle. That's a $500 bond, and a charge of no proof of insurance, and that's a $1,000 bond. So your total bond amount is $4,500. You understand the charges and your total bond amount?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
Yes, ma'am.
And will you represent yourself, hire a private attorney, or do you want court-appointed attorney?
Court attorney.
You said you do have a job, but you didn't list the income amount. I know you said you were just hired, but how much do you believe you'll be earning per month?
I'm earning $12 an hour, but I don't go to orientation. Well, my first training day isn't until the 23rd. So they said when I get there, I'll be able to pick my schedule. So I don't know my schedule yet. It's either part-time or full-time, but I'm looking to do full-time.
Okay, and you said at $12 an hour?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and grant your request, and I will appoint an attorney to represent you. So that attorney will be in contact with you, and your preliminary hearing date is April 6th, and it will be waived once you bond out, and you'll receive a new court date in the mail. Do you have any questions for me, Ms. James?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. You're excused. Have a good day.
You too.
Ashley Rhodes.
Good afternoon, Ms. Rhodes. You have been charged with one count of carrying a weapon at an unauthorized location. It is a misdemeanor, and that bond amount is set at $3,000. Do you understand the charge in your bond?
Yes.
Do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
Yes.
And do you plan to hire your own attorney, or would you like a court-appointed attorney?
I would like to be considered.
Okay, Ms. Rhodes, I've reviewed your application, and you do qualify for a court-appointed attorney. So I will go ahead and appoint one to represent you. And your preliminary hearing date is going to be scheduled for April 6th. And if you find out, it will be canceled and you'll receive a new court date in the mail.
Thank
Do
you.
you have any questions for me, Ms. Rhodes?
No,
Okay, you're excused. Thank you.
thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Alicia Robinson.
Good afternoon, Ms. Robinson. You've been charged with one count of possession of marijuana less than an ounce. It's a misdemeanor charge, and that bond amount is $1,500. Do you understand your charge and the bond amount?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you plan to represent yourself, hire your own attorney, or would you like to be considered for a court-appointed attorney?
I would like to see if I'm qualified for a court attorney.
And your application says you're unemployed, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you do qualify. I'm gonna go ahead and appoint an attorney to represent you. I have scheduled your preliminary hearing date for April 6th. If you bond out like you think you'll be able to, that court date will be canceled and you'll receive a new court date in the mail.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for me?
No, ma'am, I don't.
All right, you're excused. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Jessica Saggis.
Okay, good afternoon, Ms. Saggett.
How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. You have one charge of loitering or prowling. That bond amount is $1,000. Do you understand the charge and the bond amount?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I have placed a special condition On this bond, you are to not return to or go upon the premises located at 6170 Egan Chase in Morrow, Georgia. Do you understand that condition, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, that's my house, but yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry?
That's where I live at. I was waiting on a lift. But I can go, I got another place I can go to. That's fine.
Okay, because this, what I'm looking at on the warrantless arrest affidavit indicates that it is not your residence.
It is, it burned down. That's where I was working at. We moved lots, but it's okay.
Okay, so based on what is stated under oath by the officer in the warrantless arrest affidavit, I will leave this special condition in place. But did you plan to hire your own attorney or represent yourself, or do you want to be considered for a court-appointed attorney?
Court appointed.
Okay, you stated here that you earn between $250 and $600 a month. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you do qualify. I'm gonna go ahead and appoint an attorney to represent you. And Ms. Sagas, you can talk to the attorney about some of the statements you made here today about that particular location. And perhaps your attorney will be able to modify this bond condition if in fact it will be appropriate to do so, okay? Your preliminary hearing date is scheduled for April 6th. If you bond out, that will be canceled and it will be rescheduled, or excuse me, you'll receive a new court date in the mail. Do you have any questions for me, Ms. Sagas?
How do I get my bond lower? Or is there any way I can like schedule for like or see if I can request a signature bond?
No, under our new administration, Chief Judge Keisha Wright Hill does not authorize signature bonds. Like I said, your bond is set at $1,000. So if you post through a bonding company, they'll probably charge you anywhere from $100 to $150 so you can post your bond.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions for me?
No, ma'am.
All right, you're excused. Have a good day.
It's all the females, John.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. We can go ahead and start with the males.
Okay, your first one gonna be Justin Abrams.
Okay.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Abrams. Okay, so you have you've been charged with 2 counts of criminal trespass. I've set that bond at $1,500 each. You also have a charge of simple battery. That bond is $3,000. And you have a charge of criminal damage in the 2nd degree, and that bond is $2,000. So your total bond amount is $8,000. Do you understand the charges and the bond amount?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, do you believe you'll be able to make bonds, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you plan on representing yourself, hiring a lawyer to represent you, or do you want to be considered for a court-appointed attorney?
Court appointed.
Okay, I'm reviewing your application and you do qualify, Mr. Abrams. So I will go ahead and appoint an attorney to represent you. And your preliminary hearing date is going to be April 6th, because you're charged with all misdemeanor charges. If you do bond out, that court date will be waived and you'll receive a new court notice in the mail, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions for me, Mr. Abrams?
Oh, no, ma'am.
All right, you're excused. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. What's your name?
Leonard Badgett.
Okay, Mr. Badgett, you've been charged with 1 count of operating a motor vehicle without a driver's license. That bond amount is $1,000. Do you understand the charge in your bond?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you believe you'll be able to post bond?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to represent yourself in this matter or hire your own attorney, or do you want to be considered for a court-appointed attorney?
Court appointed.
Okay, I've reviewed your application, sir, and you do qualify. So I have appointed an attorney to represent you. Your preliminary hearing date is going to be April 6th because you're charged with a misdemeanor. But if you bond out, that date will be canceled and you'll receive a new court date in the mail. Okay. Do you have any questions for me, Mr. Baggett?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you. You're excused. Have a good one. Good afternoon. What's your name?
You don't know? Casey.
I'm sorry, what's your name, sir?
Casey Lee Christopher.
You're going to say it one more time for me.
Casey Lee Christopher.
To the law.
Casey Lee Christopher.
Casey Christopher?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Mr. Christopher, you have been charged with 2 counts of criminal trespass, and I have set both of them at $1,500 each as the bond amount. So your total bond is $3,000. Do you understand the charges in your bond? Is that a yes?
Oh, yeah.
Is that a yes?
Yeah. I know you can.
Do you believe you'll be able to make bond, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. I have included a special condition to your bond. You are not to return to or go upon the premises located at 3481 Overland Court and 3482 Overland Court, both in Ellenwood, Georgia. Okay. Do you understand that condition? Is that a yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, do you want to be considered for a court-appointed attorney?
Yeah.
Do you work, sir?
Yeah.
You do work?
Yes, I do.
How much money do you make?
$10 an hour.
$10 an hour?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and appoint an attorney to represent you. And your next court date is your preliminary hearing date that's scheduled for April 6th. Okay, do you have any questions for me, sir?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions? No? Okay, you're excused. Thank you.
Hey.
Good afternoon, Judge Gregory Dixon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Dixon. Okay, so you have been charged, sir, with 1 count of driving under the influence less safe. Your bond is set at $5,000. Do you understand your charge and your bond amount?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe you'll be able to post bond, sir?
Yes.
Do you plan to hire your own attorney, or do you want to be considered for a court-appointed attorney?
I'd like to be considered for court appointed.
Okay, Mr. Dixon, I am granting your request, and I have signed the order to appoint an attorney to represent you. Because you're charged with a misdemeanor, your next court date is the preliminary hearing date on April 6th. But if you're able to bond out, like you mentioned, you'll be able to. That court date will be waived and you'll receive a new court date in the mail. Okay? Do you have any questions for me, Mr. Dixon?
No, I'm good. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Take care.
No, she'll wait.
Good afternoon, Judge. My name is Shamarion Felix.
Yeah.
What was your last name?
Felix.
Oh, Felix. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Felix. So you have been charged with 4 counts of participation in criminal gang activity. Your bond is denied at this time on those counts. You do have a preliminary hearing date scheduled for April 5th. That's April 5, okay? I'm also gonna schedule a bond hearing date, and that bond hearing date is gonna be April 2nd. So that way you can appear in front of another judge with the Superior Court to determine whether or not you're gonna be allowed to post bond. Do you understand the charges, sir?
No, ma'am.
You say you do not understand the charges?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so would you like for me to read the basis of the warrant that led to the charges? Keep in mind, we are streaming live on YouTube. If you want me to read it, I'll read it so that you can understand.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It states that the defendant, Shamarion Felix, did on January 29, 2021 at 270 Boulder Way, Stockbridge, commit the offense of unlawful for person employed by, associated with criminal street gang to conduct/participate in criminal activity, OCGA 16-15-4A, against the state of Georgia, and that said defendant did, while associated with a criminal street gang, as documented by law enforcement, did knowingly, intentionally, and unlawfully participate in a criminal street gang when he committed the offense of commission, attempted commission, conspiracy to commit, or solicitation, coercion, or intimidation, or another person when he was employed by or associated with a criminal street gang to conduct or participate in such activity in violation of Georgia Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act. Said accused did commit the offense of felony murder when he and a fellow bounty hunter blood criminal street gang member, Jermaine Fox, date of birth 11/30/2001, attempted to commit an armed robbery on an unknown victim, which led to Jermaine Fox being shot and killed. Let me see. And so there were 4 charges with regards to that offense. I want to read to you the second charge, just so you're clear. It stated that on January 29th, 2021, the defendant, Shamarion Felix, did, while associated with a criminal street gang as documented by law enforcement, did knowingly, intentionally, and unlawfully participate in a criminal street gang when he committed the offense of commission, attempted commission, conspiracy to commit, or solicitation, coercion, or intimidation, or another person when he was employed by or associated with a criminal street gang to conduct or participate in such activity in violation of Georgia Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act. Said accused did conspire with the fellow bounty hunter Bloods criminal street gang member, criminal attempt to armed robbery, Jermaine Fox, to commit an armed robbery on someone who was supposed to sell them a firearm. Said accused did admit to acting as a lookout when the robbery was taking place. The unknown victims did fire upon Jermaine Fox, killing him as they fled after observing Jermaine Fox approach their vehicle with a firearm. Give me 1 second. I'm going to the third charge. And this warrant for the third charge, which was the participation in the criminal street gang, states that on January 29th, 2021, Shamarion Felix did, while associated with the criminal street gang as documented by law enforcement, did knowingly, intentionally, and unlawfully participate in a criminal street gang when he committed the offense of commission, attempted commission, conspiracy to commit, or solicitation, coercion, or intimidation, or another person when he was employed by or associated with a criminal street gang to conduct or participate in such activity in violation of Georgia Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act. Said accused did commit possession of a firearm during commission of a felony when he did possess a firearm, a Springfield XD 9mm, serial number AT212498, during the commission of criminal attempt of an armed robbery. And then the fourth one, the fourth charge states that the defendant, Shamarion Felix, did on January 29, 2021, while associated with a criminal street gang as documented by law enforcement, did knowingly, intentionally, and unlawfully participate in a criminal street gang when he committed the offense of commission, attempted commission, conspiracy to commit, or solicitation, coercion, or intimidation of another person when he was employed by or associated with a criminal street gang to conduct or participate in such activity in violation of the Georgia Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act. Said accused did possess a handgun while being under that age of 18. Felix was in possession of a 9mm Springfield XD, serial number AT212498, during the commission of an armed robbery attempt. Felix was born 11/30/2003, making him 17 years of age during the commission of this offense. Okay, so those are the statements contained with all four warrants with regards to these charges. Would you like to be considered for a court-appointed attorney, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to grant your request, and I have appointed an attorney to represent you. Sorry, one moment. Okay, so I have appointed an attorney to represent you. That attorney will be in contact. And as I mentioned, your preliminary hearing date will be April 5, and your bond hearing date will be April 2nd. Okay, did you have any questions for me, Mr. Felix?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right, you're excused. Have a good day.
You got it. All right, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, what's your name?
Emmett Foster.
Okay, so Mr. Foster, you have been charged with one count of reckless driving. That bond amount is $1,500. Unregistered vehicle, that bond amount is $500. And improper muffler, that bond amount is $500. So your total bond amount is $2,500. Do you understand the charges and the bond amount?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you plan to hire an attorney to represent you, or do you want to be considered for a court-appointed attorney, or do you want to represent yourself?
Court attorney. But if I were to change it to my own personal, would I be able to do that?
Yes, sir, you absolutely can. I'm reviewing your application and you do qualify for a court-appointed attorney. But if you decide to hire your own lawyer, your lawyer will file an entry of appearance in your case and just notify the court-appointed attorney's office and let them know you have a private attorney. But until then, I will go ahead and appoint one to represent you. Because you're charged with all misdemeanors, your court hearing date for your preliminary hearing is April 6th. But if you bond out, it will be waived and you'll receive a new court date in the mail.
And what was my bond one more time?
The total is $2,500.
$2,500.
Yes, sir. And you said you think you'll be able to make bond?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, if you don't have any other questions, you're excused, sir.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good
Ralph
afternoon.
Gray?
You said Ralph Gray?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Mr. Gray, you've been charged with theft by receiving stolen property, a vehicle, 1 count of possession of a firearm during a crime, 1 count of possession of firearm by a felon, 2 counts of violation of the Georgia Controlled Substances Act, 1 count of driving unlicensed, and 2 counts of identity fraud. So the total bond amount on all of these charges is $37,000. Do you believe you'll be able to post bond, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you understand those charges as well?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you plan to hire a lawyer, or you want to be considered for a court-appointed attorney?
Can I get a court-appointed lawyer right now, but I intend on getting my own attorney.
Okay, let me see if you qualify. Are you unemployed, Mr. Gray?
Yes, I'm unemployed, but I own a barbershop and it's kind of closed right now due to COVID. So,
okay. So are you earning an income right now?
Unemployment right now, man.
And how much do you get in unemployment?
It's approximately like $535 a week.
Okay, I will go ahead and grant your request for a court-appointed attorney.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And your preliminary hearing date is actually going to be on, your date is going to be on April 5th, April 5, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you have any questions for me?
No, Your Honor.
All right, have a good day.
You too.
Thank you. May I have your name?
Francisco Guardian.
Okay, Mr. Guardian, you have been charged with 1 count of simple battery, family violence, and 1 count of theft by taking. Your battery charge is a misdemeanor charge, and that bond is $5,000. The theft by taking is charged as a felony because of the value of the item, and that charge is a $10,000 bond. So your total bond amount is $15,000. Do you understand the charge in your bond?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I did list a special condition on your bond. You are to stay away and have no contact with Liz Vet Guardian. Do you know who that is, Liz Vet?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and Jose Guardian, okay?
Yes.
Now, do you plan to hire your own attorney, sir, or do you want to be considered for a court-appointed attorney?
Court appointed.
Okay, I've reviewed your application, Mr. Guardian, and I will grant your request, and I am appointing an attorney to represent you. Because one of your charges is a felony charge, your court date is going to be April 5th. That's April 5, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions for me, sir?
No, ma'am.
All right, have a good day.
Good afternoon, Dante Hughes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hughes. Okay, so Mr. Hughes, you've been charged with one count of simple battery, family violence. That bond amount is $5,000. And also one count of cruelty to children in the third degree. And that bond amount is $2,000. So your total bond is $7,000. Do you understand the charges and the bond amount?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think you'll be able to make bond, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so earlier I was talking to Ms. Dobson, who was arrested with you. Part of your special condition is to stay away from Octavia Dobson, okay? And she indicated earlier that you all do not live together. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, so you all are to have no contact with one another. Do you plan to hire your own attorney to represent you, or do you want to be considered for a court-appointed lawyer?
Court.
Okay. All right, so I've reviewed your application. I just want to make sure I'm reading this correct. It states on here you make $1,100 a month. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now you do qualify, Mr. Hughes, for a court-appointed attorney. So I am appointing one to represent you. Let me take a look. Now, in the event that Ms. Dobson also utilizes them, because she did qualify too, just to give you a heads up, there may be a conflict there, because oftentimes the public defender's office, would be in a conflict if they represented both ends as far as the alleged offender and the victim. So you may or may not go through the public defender's office, but either way, what we have is called a conflict attorneys list. So in the event there is a conflict, we'll still appoint you someone to represent you, okay? But the public defender's office will be in touch with you and they'll let you know who will in fact represent you. All right, Mr. Hughes?
All right.
Okay, so your court date will be April 6th because you're charged with just misdemeanors. If you bond out, that court date will be canceled and you'll get a new court date in the mail. All right, do you have any questions for me?
No, ma'am.
Okay, well, you may be excused. Have a good day.
All right, you too.
May I have your name?
YYYY Johnson.
You said Shamari's Johnson.
Maurice Johnson.
Okay, what's your middle name, sir?
Maurice L.E. Johnson.
Okay, I just want to make sure I have the correct file in front of me. You've been charged with one count of pedestrian and roadway.
Yes.
That bond is a $500 bond. Do you understand the charge and the bond amount?
Yes, I do.
Do you believe you'll be able to post bond, sir?
Yeah, yes, I can.
Okay. So do you plan, with this charge, it is a misdemeanor charge. You have the option of being considered for a court-appointed attorney, hiring your own attorney, or you can represent yourself. What would you like to do?
I like to represent myself.
Okay. All right, sir. So your preliminary hearing date, because it's the misdemeanor, is April 6th. If you bond out, that court date will be waived and you will receive a new court date with, you will receive a new notice with your court date in the mail. Do you have any questions for me?
You said my court is April 6th.
April 6th. 6th.
No question.
All right, have a good day.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. May I have your name?
Joel Mills. The second.
Okay, Mr. Menz, you have one charge of criminal damage to property in the second degree. That bond is set at $2,000. Do you understand your charge and the bond amount?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I am placing a special condition on this bond, and that is to not return to or go upon the premises located at 1210 Cameron Landing Drive in Stockbridge, Georgia. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you want to hire a lawyer to represent you, be considered for a court-appointed attorney, or represent yourself?
I already have a lawyer, ma'am.
You have a lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. One thing I do want to make you aware of, because this is a I'm sorry, hang on, let me give you. Actually, this is a felony, so let me give you the court date for felonies. Because this is a felony charge, your court date is going to be April 5th, April 5. And that's your preliminary hearing date, okay? I just want to make you aware that it appears there may be an active warrant out in Henry County. So although I am signing this order for a bond, Henry County may come to pick you up.
Well, they already, I had, me and my lawyer had already spoke to them prior to turning myself in. So they're not gonna hold it. So once I bond out, then I bond out.
Okay, well, excellent.
I just go to them and sign some papers.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad you have a lawyer that's helping guide you through this process. So, all right, your bond is just $2,000 and your court date is April 5th. But if you bond out, the date will be waived and you'll receive a new notice in the mail.
Okay, no problem.
All right, have a good day, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Your Honor.
Good evening, sir. May I have your name?
Elvis Acuna Martinez.
Last name Martinez.
Acuna Martinez.
Okay. So, Mr. Martinez, you have been charged with one count of possession of marijuana, less than an ounce. That amount is $1,500. You have one charge of driving under the influence. That amount is, that bond amount is $5,000. And then there's a charge of open container. And that bond amount is $500. So your total bond amount is $7,000. Do you understand the charges and the bonds?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think you'll be able to make bonds, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you plan to hire your own attorney? Or
Court appointed?
You want a court-appointed attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me review your application.
Can I do a commercial bonding, right?
Yes, you have the option to do a commercial bond. So if you can't post the $7,000 cash, you can go through a commercial bonding company. And they'll charge you anywhere from 10 to 15% of that amount. Okay, so it does look like you qualify for a court-appointed attorney. So I will sign off on this order and grant your request. Your next court date, if for some reason you don't bond out, your next court date will be April 6th.
Okay.
All right, but if you bond out, that court date will be waived and you'll receive a new notice in the mail.
Okay.
Any questions for me, Mr. Martinez?
Oh, no.
Okay, you're excused. Have a good day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gabriel Pitts.
All right, good afternoon, Mr. Pitts. You have one charge of criminal trespass and one charge of possession of marijuana. Both charges have a bond amount of $1,500 each. So your total bond is $3,000. Do you understand the charge and the bond amounts?
Yes.
Do you believe you'll be able to post bond?
No.
You said no?
No.
Okay. Do you plan on hiring a lawyer, sir, or do you want to be considered for a court-appointed attorney?
Court appointed attorney.
Okay, I'm reviewing your application, Mr. Pitts. I'm trying to read your handwriting. Is it 1,300 a month?
Yeah, 1,300, man.
Okay.
See, I ain't got no family. I ain't got nobody to pay my bond.
Okay.
I work for it.
Okay, so I am going to appoint an attorney to represent you. And like I mentioned to the last person, your bond amount is $3,000, but you can go through a commercial bonding company. And so they'll charge you anywhere from 10 to 15%. So that's like anywhere from $300 to $450 to be able to get out. So if you can't post that entire amount, then you can make some phone calls to some bonding companies to see what they can work out for you. Also talk to your attorney because sometimes attorneys can help you modify some of these charges and or the bond amount. So that attorney will be in touch with you and you can talk to him or her about your options, okay?
Okay.
You have any questions for me, sir?
No, that's it.
Okay, now if you don't bond out, your next court date is gonna be April 6th, okay?
Okay.
All right, have a good day.
Remion Rollins.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rawlings.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Rawlings, so you've been charged with one count of violation of the Georgia Controlled Substances Act. That bond amount is $5,000. Then you have one count of possession of firearm by a felon. That bond is $10,000. And then you have one count of possession of firearm during the commission of a crime. That bond amount is $10,000. So your total bond is $25,000. Do you understand those charges and the bond?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, do you think you'll be able to make bond, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you plan to hire your own attorney or do you want to be considered for a court-appointed attorney?
A court-appointed attorney.
You're unemployed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to grant your request and I'll appoint an attorney to represent you. And your preliminary hearing date in the event, I know you said you'll be able to post bond, but in the event you are not able to post bond, your preliminary hearing date will be April 5th, April 5. If you do post bond, that court date will be waived and you'll receive a new notice in the mail with your new court date. Okay, did you have any questions, Mr. Rawlings?
Yes, ma'am. I had a question. I was arrested on the 3rd, but they said that these charges were supposed to be put on me on the 3rd. I have a preliminary hearing for March 23rd already. So how would that work when the charges are supposed to be on the same day? I'm gonna have two.
Yeah, so when you appear at your March 23rd court date, just notify them of that, let them know about these other charges. And so usually they're able to hear all of it together, but just let them know. Also, your attorney, your court-appointed attorney will have that information too. And so your court-appointed attorney will be able to see if they can combine everything in one court date. But it's more than likely that we're gonna have to appear by Zoom video conference during that time. So if for some reason you still have two court dates, then you'll just have to appear on both dates for those offenses. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
All right, you too.
How you on, Giant Dragon?
Good afternoon, Mr. Ragland. Mr. Ragland, you've been charged with one count of possession of marijuana, less than an ounce. That bond is $1,500. and 1 count of possession of drug-related objects. That bond amount is $500. So your total bond is $2,000. Do you understand the charges and the bond amount?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do you believe you'll be able to make bond, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you plan to hire your own attorney, represent yourself, or do you want to be considered for a court-appointed attorney?
I want you to do it.
Okay, well, I can consider you for a court-appointed attorney. Let me review your application. And you are unemployed, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and grant your request, and I am appointing an attorney to represent you. You're just charged with misdemeanor charges, so your court date is going to be April 6th. Okay?
Yes,
Do
ma'am.
you have any questions for me, Mr. Ragland?
No, ma'am.
All right, well, you're free to go. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Daniel Rodriguez.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rodriguez. So, Mr. Rodriguez, you have been charged with 1 count of simple battery. That bond amount is $3,000. Do you understand the charge and your bond amount?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I do have a special condition on your bond, sir. You are to stay away and have no contact with Maria Fonseca. Okay, do you know who that is?
Yes, my girl.
Okay, so you have to have no contact with her at this time until such time that this bond condition is modified or your case is resolved. Do you plan on hiring an attorney to represent you, or do you plan to represent yourself, or do you want to be considered for a court-appointed attorney?
Court attorney, court-appointed attorney.
Okay. Do you have a child support order, sir?
No, ma'am.
Now, the person that you live with, is that this Maria Fonseca?
Yes.
Okay, so you all are at the 1013 Lakeview Way, Jonesboro, Georgia?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, because you all reside together and you are not to have any contact, I can't let you go back to that residence. So you can't go back to the 1013 Lakeview Way in Jonesboro, Georgia.
Okay.
But what I will do, I'm gonna state on this bond order that you can at least go back and get some things that belong to you and that you'll need. You'll have to do this within 10 days of being released from jail. And you have to go accompanied by the sheriff's office. Okay, you can't go over there by yourself. So I'll put that in here, but for now you can't return to that residence either. Looking at your application, I want to confirm a couple of things. You say you don't have a child support amount. How much is your rent or mortgage?
$1,150.
Okay, so I'm gonna appoint an attorney to represent you. and that attorney will be in touch, sir. Because you're charged with just a misdemeanor, your court date will be scheduled for April 6th. But if you bond out, that court date goes away and you'll receive a new notice in the mail with your new court date. Now make sure, because you can't go back to that property for now, make sure you contact the court to update your address so you can get your new court date if you bond out. Okay. Do you have any questions, Mr. Rodriguez?
No, ma'am.
All right, you're excused. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Darryl Stevens.
Good afternoon, Mr. Stevens. You said Stevens?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Stevens, you have been charged with 1 count of simple battery family violence. Your bond is set at $5,000. Do you understand your charge and your bond amount?
Yes.
Do you believe you'll be able to make bond, sir?
Yes.
Do you plan on hiring your own attorney, or do you want to be considered for a court-appointed attorney?
I want to be considered for a court appointed.
Okay, so you do qualify, Mr. Stevens. I'm going to grant your request and appoint an attorney to represent you. I do also want to let you know about this special condition that I placed on your bond. You are to, excuse me, 1 second. Okay, so you are to stay away and have no contact with Felice Williams. You are also not to return to or go to the premises located at 1400 Flat Shoals Road, apartment J2, Atlanta, Georgia. Do you understand those conditions?
Yes, can I get the sheriff, because I stay there too.
Okay,
that
was gonna be my next question. I wasn't sure if you live there. So yes, I'm gonna go ahead and state on here that within 10 days of being released, you can go back accompanied by the sheriffs to collect some of your belongings that's not in dispute. Meaning that if you and her don't agree on taking some things, you can only take those things that are not in dispute. So I will go ahead and put that condition on your bond. So because you're charged with a misdemeanor, your court date, your preliminary hearing date is going to be scheduled for April 6th. But if you do bond out, that court date goes away and you'll receive a new court notice in the mail. And you did indicate that you reside there as well. So just like I told the last gentleman, make sure you update your address with the court. So that way we know where to send your court notice. And your attorney, your court-appointed attorney will be in contact. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day. May I have your name?
Dwayne.
What was your name?
Dwayne. Singleton.
All right, Mr. Singleton. So you've been charged with driving on a suspended license. That bond is $1,500. Possession of marijuana less than an ounce. That bond is $1,500. And defective equipment. That bond is $500. So your total bond is $3,500. Do you understand those charges and your bond amount?
Yes, I do.
Do you believe you'll be able to make bond, sir?
How much is bond with the percentage?
So your charge is, I'm sorry, the total bond amount is $3,500. And bonding companies charge anywhere from 10 to 15%. So that would be anywhere from $350 to $525. And that's if you bond out through a bonding company. Do you believe you'll be able to bond out?
I do have the $350.
Okay. Do you want to be considered for a court-appointed attorney, sir? Or do you plan on hiring your own attorney?
Just go through the, I try to get a bonding company.
Okay. So my next question was, do you plan to hire your own lawyer to represent you? Or do you plan to represent yourself? Or do you want me to see if you qualify for a court-appointed attorney?
Do I qualify for a court-appointed attorney?
Okay. So I have your application here in front of me, and you stated you have a job, but you didn't state how much you earn per month. How much do you earn, sir?
I have the unemployment.
You're receiving unemployment?
Yes, I do.
Okay. How much do you receive in unemployment?
$635 a week.
Okay. Now, do you have any other job besides your unemployment?
No, right now, just taxes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because you said you were receiving unemployment, but you said that you had a job, so I wasn't sure if you were receiving the unemployment from the job you said you had. So looking at the rest of your application, I do find that you qualify for a court-appointed attorney. So I will go ahead and grant your request, Mr. Singleton, and I'm appointing someone to represent you. Your next preliminary hearing date is going to be scheduled for April 6th, since you have all misdemeanors. Do you have any questions for me, Mr. Singleton?
No, how do I bond? Like, do I call the bonding company?
Yes, yes, you'll be able to call around some different bonding companies, and they'll know what your charges are, and they'll tell you about how much they'll charge you, what the fees will be in order for you to bond out. Okay, did you hear that?
No, I didn't.
Did you hear what I just stated?
No, I didn't. You said it would be.
Okay. So your question was, do you just call the bonding company? And my answer was yes. You would be able to call around at some different bonding companies and talk to them about how much their fees are. And so then they'll be able to advise you how much you'll have to pay them for them to post your bond for you. So that way you can be released, okay? Did you have any other questions, Mr. Singleton? Okay, well, if you do, remember I appointed an attorney to represent you. You can talk to your attorney when they reach out and contact you, okay? All right, have a good day.
How you doing, y'all?
Good afternoon, sir. What's your name?
Orlando Sutton.
Okay, Mr. Sutton, so you have one charge of theft by taking a motor vehicle. That is a felony charge. That bond is $15,000. And then you also have one charge of driving while unlicensed. It's a misdemeanor charge. And that bond amount is $1,500. So your total bond amount is $16,500. Do you understand the charge and the bond amount?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do you plan to hire an attorney to represent you, or do you want to be considered for a court-appointed attorney?
Court-appointed attorney.
How much do you earn per month, sir?
I had just lost my job when I came and got locked up. But I was earning from anything like $1,200 a month.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and approve you for a court-appointed attorney.
Yes, ma'am.
So that court-appointed attorney will be in touch with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Because one of your charges does include a felony charge, your court date is going to be April 5th. It's April 5, okay?
Yes.
But if you end up bonding out, that preliminary hearing date is going to be waived and it goes away, and then you'll receive a new court notice in the mail with your new court date.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
have any questions for me, Mr. Sutton?
No, ma'am, not really.
Okay, well, you're excused. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Darryl Wilcox.
Good afternoon, Mr. Wilcox. All right, you've been charged with one count of window tint violation. That bond is $500, and possession of marijuana less than an ounce. That bond is $1,500, so your total bond is $2,000. Do you understand your charges and your bond?
Yes, ma'am.
Think you'll be able to make bond?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you plan to hire a lawyer to represent you, represent yourself, or do you want to be considered for a court-appointed attorney?
Represent myself.
Okay. Your next court date, Mr. Wilcox, is going to be April 6th. Okay. But if you bond out, that court date goes away and you'll receive a new court notice with your new court date.
All right.
Do you have any questions for me, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, you're excused. Have a good day.
All right, thank you.
How you doing, Your Honor? Gary Williams.
Good afternoon, Mr. Williams. Okay, Mr. Williams, so you've been charged with one count of kidnapping, one count of aggravated assault, one count of false imprisonment, and one count of obstruction of a law enforcement officer. You do not have a bond at this time, sir. I'm gonna give you two court dates. The first court date is going to be your bond hearing date. And that bond hearing date is going to be scheduled for April 2nd.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you'll appear in front of a judge at that time to revisit this issue about bond.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the second hearing date is going to be your preliminary hearing date. And that hearing date is going to be April 5th, April 5th, right? Do you plan to hire your own attorney, Mr. Williams, or do you want to be considered for a court-appointed attorney?
Well, I want to be considered for a court-appointed, ma'am, because at this point I was self-employed. I'm trying to let my kids continue the business. I don't know how that's going to work out. So yes, at least let's initiate the court-appointed. And if I'm able to get my own, I will, if that's okay with you.
Okay, well, you didn't put an amount for your income on here. How much do you make a month?
Well, it varies. I deliver for IKEA. I can get as much as 2,000 a week and as little as 15. So the max is probably about 8,500 to 9,000 a month.
Okay, and so tell me about your expenses.
My workers. That's gross, ma'am. Net, I guess it'd be a little bit over 3,000. Like I said, depends on how many loads they give us and everything.
Do you, I see on here you have 4 children, is that right?
Yes, ma'am. They all over the age 18.
Okay, I was gonna ask if you had any child support obligations. And you said how much is your mortgage and or your rent payment?
It's 2 mortgages. It's one's $1,350. I don't remember what the other one. I know it's 14 something.
About 1,300 and about 1,400.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's about $2,700 total.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so based on your sworn testimony that your actual take home is 3,000 a month, and based on some.
It varies, Your Honor. It do varies.
Oh, okay. So do
Because it's never the same. I don't want to tell you it's 3, and then later on somebody says, oh, it's more than 3. Because it do varies. Like we get paid by the stops. One day we might have 10 stops, and one day we might have 17 stops, and then one week we might just have 10 all week. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to misconstrue you or misconfuse you to where it later come back and haunt me.
Okay. Okay, I hear you, Mr. Williams. Well, it looks like, I mean, based on what you're saying, you're not going to qualify for a court-appointed attorney, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're going to have to see what arrangements you can make to be able to hire an attorney to represent you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So if there are any issues down the road, like I mentioned, you do have 2 court dates that are coming up, and so you can address it with the court at that time with regards to your bond. You have any questions for me?
No, ma'am. Thank you very much for seeing me.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
Hey, good afternoon. It's Johnny Ayala.
Good afternoon, sir. Give me one moment here.
Good evening, Judge.
Yes, good evening.
Inmate John, he's gonna be extradited. He's here for extradition.
Yeah, I noted that here. So
Okay.
Are we done with the other regular inmates besides my interpreter inmate?
This is gonna be him. Do you understand what the judge is saying?
No, can you repeat that for me?
Oh, so he is the, okay. So
No, I understand a lot, just few words that I don't understand, but I understand a lot.
He understands English, Judge, but sometimes some words he don't understand.
Yeah.
So I guess
okay.
he get to that point, he might ask you to repeat it again.
Okay. So Mr. Ayala, do you want me to get a Spanish interpreter, or do you want to continue?
If you can get me in Spanish, yeah, it would be better so I can understand everything.
Yeah. Okay. So give me a few minutes to get the interpreter online, but Deputy, I just want to make sure there's no one else.
No, ma'am, that's all. He's the last person, Your Honor.
Okay, so let me. It's 2 people I want to ask you about, Deputy, just to make sure.
Yes, ma'am.
There's a Raymond Roll Jr. I didn't see that he was OTB.
What's his last name, Your Honor?
Wrong, I think, is R-O-L-L-E. Raymond Wrong, or Roye, or Raleigh. Raymond Edward.
Yes, ma'am. He's OTB.
Okay. And the second person is Carmen Bryant. Is that person OTB?
Carmen Bryant.
They may be, because all the bond was preset.
Well, that's a female. She's in 205.
Carmen Bryant is a female?
Yes, ma'am, because the middle name Renee.
Yes. They have her listed as a male. Okay, so what's the status on her?
I didn't have a female, Your Honor, so I'm gonna have to check with the deputy.
Okay. So if you can check with Deputy Crawley, and then what I'll do is, if y'all stand by, I'll go ahead and get the interpreter on the line.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Did you have an update for me, Deputy Lee?
Yes, Your Honor, this Deputy Robinson, she's gonna be OTB.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you
ma'am.
for confirming.
Yes,
Stand by,
ma'am.
please.
Larry, no, you should have been someone, I feel, go ahead.
She'll cut me out.
Thank you.
Okay, deputies, I'm ready. I have the interpreter on the line. Are you all ready?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Madam Interpreter, if I can swear you in, please, if you can raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that you would translate from English to Spanish and from Spanish to English in accordance with your training and experience?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Deputies, can you all hear the interpreter okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Madam Interpreter. Sir, if you can raise your right hand.
No le seré su intérprete, favor de levantar su mano derecha.
Do you swear and affirm that the statements you'll make here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say yes.
Usted jura o afirma que las declaraciones que haría el día de hoy serán la verdad completa y nada más que la verdad.
Yeah.
Okay. If you can please state your name.
Johnny Ayala.
¿Puede decir su nombre?
Okay, Mr. Ayala, this is what is called an extradition hearing.
El señor Ayala es una audiencia de extradición.
The rights that...
¿Puedes repetirme eso que no te entendí?
Your Honor, Mr. Ayala is asking for a repetition. Is it okay if I repeat it?
Yes, please repeat it.
Le decía, señora Ayala, que esto es una audiencia de extradición.
Okay.
You have the right to remain silent and say nothing, but should you give up this right, anything you say may be used against you.
Y los derechos que tiene son los siguientes. Primero, tiene el derecho a permanecer en silencio y de no decir nada. Sin embargo, si decide dar alguna declaración, tenga presente que esto puede ser usado en su contra.
Okay.
You do not have criminal charges pending against you here in Clayton County, Georgia.
No tienen ningún cargo criminal pendiente aquí en la corte del condado de Clayton en Georgia.
You have been brought before the court today because you have charges pending against you in another state, and that state is requesting that you return to answer to those charges.
Tiene unos cargos criminales en otro estado, no en este estado, y se le ha traído aquí porque de parte de este estado están pidiendo que regrese ahí para que pueda responder a estos.
You are being charged with being a fugitive from the state of Texas, where you are wanted for the offense of forgery felony.
Y el cargo que tiene que es fugitivo actualmente del estado de Texas, donde es requerido debido a que tiene una ofensa pendiente de un delito mayor de falsificación.
You may contest this extradition, or you may waive extradition and voluntarily return to Texas without going through the formal extradition process.
Usted puede contestar lo que es este proceso de extradición o puede renunciar a ese proceso de extradición, donde al hacer eso, usted regresaría voluntariamente a Texas sin tener que pasar por este proceso formal de extradición.
If you decide to contest extradition, you will be committed to the Clayton County Jail for an initial period of 30 days.
si usted decide dar una respuesta o contestar a este proceso de extradición, se iniciaría eso aquí en la corte del condado de Clayton, y eso significa que pasaría un periodo de tiempo inicial aquí en la cárcel del condado de Clayton de 30 días.
During this time, a warrant will be prepared under the governor's signature for your extradition to Texas.
Durante este tiempo se prepararía lo que es una orden que firmaría el gobernador para que se le haga esta extradición a Texas.
The court may consider allowing you to post a bond, but the court is not required to do so.
La corte puede considerar el permitirle que usted pague algún tipo de fianza, pero no es requerido de la corte que hagan eso.
Because you are wanted by another jurisdiction, I am not allowing a bond at this time.
Debido a que se le requiere de parte de otra jurisdicción, yo no le estaría aprobando algún tipo de fianza por ahora.
If you do not wish to voluntarily return back to Texas, you may file a petition for a writ of habeas corpus to contest the extradition.
Si usted no desea voluntariamente regresar a Texas, puede pedir que se inicie lo que es un tipo de petición para que se anule o conteste a este tipo de proceso de extradición.
The petition may only contest 4 things.
Y esta petición solo puede contener 4 cosas.
Number 1, whether the extradition documents are in order on its face.
La número 1, esto es ver si los documentos de extradición están en orden para que del condado o del estado del que se están emitiendo.
Number 2, whether you are charged with the crime that actually exists in the demanding state of Texas.
La número 2, si en caso tiene este cargo pendiente, cargo criminal, si existe en el estado de donde se está emitiendo, que es en Texas.
Whether you are the person named in the request for extradition.
Ver si usted es la persona que se está requiriendo en esta extradición.
And number 4, whether you are in fact a fugitive from justice.
Y la número 4, ver si es el caso de que usted es un fugitivo de este estado.
You are entitled to have the advice of an attorney. I'm sorry, I'm going to start over, Madam Interpreter. Mr. Ayala, you cannot contest the issue of your guilt or innocence in this state.
Y señora Ayala, usted no puede responder al asunto de su culpabilidad o inocencia en este estado.
You are entitled to have the advice of an attorney in contesting extradition or in deciding whether to waive extradition.
Y si tiene derecho a consultar la asesoría de un abogado para determinar si quiere proceder para contestar lo que es este proceso de extradición o si quiere hacerlo voluntariamente o anularlo.
If the state is unable to extradite you within 30 days, you may be committed to the county jail for an additional 60 days while waiting extradition.
Si de parte del estado no les es posible que lo puedan mandar a ese estado en un periodo de 30 días, se estaría quedando en la cárcel del condado por un periodo adicional de 60 días en lo que se hace ese proceso.
However, if the extradition is not completed within 90 days, then you will be released.
Sin embargo, si este proceso de extradición no se completa en un periodo de 90 días, entonces sería liberado.
If you decide to voluntarily waive extradition and return back to Texas, that state will have up to 30 days to travel here to Georgia to take you back to Texas.
Si usted voluntariamente renuncia a ese proceso de extradición y decide usted voluntariamente regresar a Texas, ese estado tendría un periodo de 30 días para poder viajar y requerir de venir por usted o recogerlo.
Yo prefiero que me vengan a recoger.
I prefer if they can come pick me up.
Okay. Are you in fact Johnny Ayala?
Usted es la persona de nombre Johnny Ayala.
If I'm Johnny Ayala? So, that's what you say? If I'm Johnny Ayala?
Yes.
I'm Johnny Ayala.
Okay. Do you have an attorney representing you in this matter?
Ya tiene un abogado que lo esté representando para este asunto.
My family has me a lawyer.
I'm sorry, your family has you what?
A lawyer.
Or a lawyer, so you do have a lawyer, okay. And just to confirm, you said you want to have Texas come and pick you up and take you back to Texas, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you will need to sign several copies of the waiver of extradition form. Madam Interpreter.
Voy a darle a firmar varias copias donde estaría renunciando a ese proceso de extradición.
And you will be given one of the copies that will have my signature.
Y se le va a estar dando una de mis copias que va a tener mi firma.
And once you have signed all of the copies, you will be remanded to the custody of the sheriff.
Y una vez que firme esas copias, se va a entregar otra vez su custodia al sheriff.
Do you have any questions?
Yes. So usted le puede preguntar que Texas tiene, me está diciendo que Texas tiene que venirme a recoger en 30 días.
And that means that they will come pick me up in 30 days.
Well, they have up to 30 days to come pick you up, but we don't know how long it will take. It depends on Texas.
En caso que no,
Para que vengan a recogerlo, pero no sabemos cuánto les tomaría. Eso depende de Texas.
y en caso que pasen esos 30 días, ¿qué pasaría?
And what will happen after 30 days if they don't come?
So as I mentioned before, you could be held for an additional 60 days waiting extradition. If the extradition is not completed, though, within 90 days, then you will be released.
Como le mencioné anteriormente, puede que se le retenga un periodo adicional de 60 días, si acaso no sucede algo en esos 60 días, para que se complete ese proceso. Y si no, si pasan 90 días y no se completa, entonces sería liberado.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions, Mr. Ayala?
Sí, los papeles que voy a firmar son los que están confirmando que yo quiero que me trasladen a Texas.
The paperwork that I'm going to sign that's to confirm that I want to be transferred to Texas.
Yes, it's the waiver of extradition form.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, está bien.
Did he understand my response?
Yeah,
¿Sí entendió?
sí, yeah, entendí.
Okay, so if you don't have any other questions, you may be excused, Mr. Ayala.
No, I don't have more, I don't have any question.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you too.
Okay, Madam Interpreter, thank you so much for your services.
Sí, sí, no sé, dice, have a good day.
You too, ma'am.
Hey, Judge.
Deputies, yes, sir.
Okay, I have some, I guess they emailed the, calendar clerk this morning. So they, sent some extradition forms over here already. So I'm just gonna get him to sign all 7 and then send it back. I mean,
Oh, okay. So you already have some there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so yes, please go ahead and do that, and I'll look out in my email and I'll sign it and I'll send that back over as well.
Yes, ma'am. So, as soon as he signs, I'll send it to you in about 5 minutes.
Okay, excellent. So are we done for today? Is there any other business that we need to handle?
No, ma'am.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good one, ma'am.